Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. As you know, we have gone to a live podcast. So if you are on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, you can ask us questions now. Dwayne Long is here, as he is every Tuesday. Dwayne, how goes it?
Hey, spring football starting, man. Here we go. And this is going to be an interesting spring. With the new coaches coming in, guys get an opportunity to set the tone with in front of a bunch of new eyes. And the one thing is, when sometimes you like a guy and I like a guy and we don't like the other guy, it's just in the eye of the beholder. So these guys have to think about the opportunity to impress a new set of eyes.
No question. And today is the official start of spring practice, March 8th, and they have a star-studded crew visiting. We're going to talk all about that. But first, this is kind of a holiday, being spring practice kickoff. I will say, going into a season with a freshman quarterback, a freshman running back, and a freshman center on offense was a large hill to climb, and they tackled it this year with C.J. Stroud back, with Travion Henderson back, both of whom are already Heisman favorites. And then you look at the rest of the roster, they've got to replace the 2 first-round wide receivers who showed out in Indy, and there's some others to replace. But Dwayne, as spring practice kicks off today, what are the things you need to see to make yourself feel a little better about the Buckeyes?
Well, Ed, you got to look on the defensive side of the ball. It's got to be better. As exciting and as fun and as explosive as the Rose Bowl was, we don't want that. We don't want to be putting up basketball scores to win football games. So that is I'm really excited about Knowles. I did a lot of research on him. Watch full games of defensive every play in the game, and this guy, he gets at it right. When I was just reading stuff about him, I had to start with listening to people who had been watching him week in and week out, and I just did not agree with what they were saying. This guy really sends the kitchen sink to get to the quarterback. He attacks and attacks and attacks. Is a 4.25. When the few highlights I saw at first showed me, I was like, this looks more like a 3.34 or a 4.3, where they've got stacked different up front to leave the guy on the edge, but it really isn't. It's a 4.3. They just move the one guy around a lot. And they're going to attack. I just liked what I saw from him. It's a swarming defense, but they play disciplined. They're not guys just out there running around. So I'm not worried about the offense. Yeah, we got to replace a couple of. But I'm not worried about that at all. The defense, we got to get that straightened around. It's been the problem the last few years. We stayed with the same defensive coaches. That didn't. I love that Ryan Day, he didn't mess. He didn't with his friends. He didn't call a party to new coach and got some guys in here that have proved. You give Knowles this kind of talent, he's not used to working with these kind of athletes. I'm very excited about it.
I realize the sound is not coming through as well as it possibly do. We apologize for that. And I also see there's some great questions being thrown in there by Sue Zabo and Ed Rogers, and I'll get to those. Who is going to be the starting tight end, Dwayne? Are you there? We are having some technical difficulties. Dwayne, can you hear me? Earth to Dwayne. Dwayne, can you hear me?
I'm I'm done with what I was saying.
Huh. Okay, Dwayne, who is going
Huh?
to be this? Can you hear me? This is Grace Under Fire, people. I'm trying to keep my poise here as we are experiencing technical difficulties with the stream. Those of you who are listening to it on podcast, I should be able to fix.
I would have to say the field. I mean, Dan, we don't know. We haven't seen anybody play enough to really speculate on which. Oh, I can I can hear you fine.
Yep.
We can't. Yes,
Just go ahead with the tight end
we
answer
can.
and we'll go from there.
We haven't seen enough of any of the backups that we can really say, yeah.
Sue, you're not right. The starting tight end will not be Mitch Rossi. Dwayne, can you hear me? Are we good? Can we move on? All right, here. I'm going to knock Dwayne off. I'm going to knock Dwayne off the stream for just a little bit there in chat because we are having some technical difficulties. I want to let you know there is a star-studded cast coming today. Know these names. I'm reading here. Luke Montgomery was here already. Ryan Montgomery was here already. This was a few days ago. Now, today, the 8th, kickoff day. You know the name. Tackett Curtis, star linebacker out of Louisiana. I think it's very noteworthy that he's here on the very first day. Secondly, Bryce West, defensive back out of Glenville, ran a very fast time at a camp recently, fastest time at the camp. We're not going to go over actual 40 times given what happened, went down at the combine, but someone you definitely want to be on with. Let's try and get Dwayne back in here real quick and see what happens. Dwayne, how are you doing? More difficulty. Okay. Also, Bryson Rogers, wide receiver out of Florida. Nigel Glover, a star out of Ohio, who is an emerging prospect. And Arvell Reese, also out of Ohio. So, you know, Ohio State is going to put on a show today. The sun is not shining, which is a shame because the kickoff of spring practice with great weather is incredible. But we also talked about the Montgomerys, which is important. Quarterback recruiting is going to be a challenge in 2024 because I do think, most think, Ryan Montgomery will be here. Is that you,
I
Dwayne?
can hear you.
Coming out
You're not breaking up at all.
Okay, great. So let's get into the topic of quarterback. I started to bring up the point that I think Montgomery in 25 is almost a lock. You wouldn't want to say that about any kid, but given the fact that his brother is already on board, and keep in mind, if you come watch your brother play football on the weekends, this guy's going to see about X number of games in person before he has to commit. Quite convincing, which means recruiting for 2024, the year before, is going to be a challenge. We've been through this before with the Quinn Ewers, Devin Brown fix-up. What's your vibe on how to recruit 24? You've looked at some quarterbacks. Bill Kurlick has a story up now about that. Live TV. Dwayne, do you want to talk about quarterbacks? I apologize, people. That is the beauty of live TV or live streaming. We are still working out the kinks. Definitely something we will get handled. We're going to take a quick break for those of you on podcast and come right back with the rest of the show. All right, I am back. One thing you want to keep an eye on for the rest of the day here is a review of Olius Alanen, an offensive lineman from Connecticut that Mark Porter has done a review of. An excellent prospect. Dwayne would have told you how much he loved him, but we had some technical difficulties with that, which, again, we apologize for. We also were discussing today who could possibly start at tight end. You know, I talked about how we entered last year, freshman quarterback, freshman center, freshman tailback. So the idea that they survived and prospered the way they did is kind of incredible. There aren't many spots like that on the offense this year. You really are looking at 2 receiver spots, the 2 and the 3 spot behind Jackson Smith and the Jigba. And we already know you've got Marvin Harrison, Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming to fill those spots. So not too bad. And then the offensive line is pretty much set. You got to have Paris Johnson, kick out to left tackle. You're going to have Luke Whippler back at center. The question at left guard is still there. I think right guard is a question. I expect it to be Donovan Jackson. Actually, I kind of hope it's Donovan Jackson. And we all know DeJuan Jones will be the right tackle. So having Travion back, having CJ back, I think you're going to hit the ground running on offense. There's also been some discussion of, like we said, tight end. I have no idea. I hope it's Gee Scott. I think it would be impressive. The one thing about Ohio State's offense they really haven't added to is the ability to stretch the field with the tight end. And you're seeing now that Jeremy Ruckert is being evaluated by the NFL and still probably a 2nd or 3rd round pick without being an offensive target on many occasions. So that's really what they're looking for there. All right, I'm going to try and actually answer a few questions here, given the issues. There was a question from Ed Rogers. Can Gahanna win the state basketball championship? Way to keep it on topic there, Ed Rogers. Definitely. They have one of the best players in the state in Sean Jones. He's headed to Marquette, about as quick as a cat point guard as you will see. Very good chance to win Mr. Basketball. They are in a little pod up there. I believe they play Upper Arlington and then play the winner of Westerville South and I can't remember the other team, but I would say Gahanna is the favorite out of there. The real question is, can Gahanna beat Centerville? And if they were playing tomorrow, I think I would pick Centerville. They are a machine. Centerville is one of the best high school basketball teams ever to play here in Southwest Ohio. If you go look at their schedule they've played this year, it is star-studded, and they have come through on every level. Let me see if I have any more questions here. I do not. So that was a weird show. We apologize if it got a little truncated. Keep it locked into Bucknuts all day. We will go live with Pat Murphy and Dave Biddle right after practice today. So they will give you hopefully a better mechanical operation than I was able to produce with Dwayne today. Well, we appreciate you stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.